we on run?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, what we're doing today is having a public hearing on our 2012 Madison County property tax rates. We have, as we've done for the past 5 years, decided to keep the rate the exact same. We haven't had to raise rates. Really, this is the 6th year. So talk to the other taxing districts, and every other taxing district's keeping theirs the same, except for the ambulance service, EMS, and they were felt comfortable enough with their reserves that they could lower theirs 0.1%. So I'm going to go over this, and then I'll ask for any kind of public comment. Anybody that would like to approach the court can come to either microphone and make any kind of statement they'd like. Rate levied last year was 8.3 and produced revenues in the amount of $3,300,000. This year's compensating rate is 8.1 and would produce revenues in the amount of $3.35 million. The Madison County Fiscal Court proposes a tax rate of 8.3 as was last year, and would produce a total of $3,433,000. We made a mistake in the advertisement, but I think the register changed it. The revenue from new property is $25,000 and not $255,000. Personal property, there's nothing we can do. We've kept that same rate. Matter of fact, we dropped personal from 10 to 9.7 this year because of a formula with the state. Motor vehicle and watercraft is 10, which it's been last 20 years at least I know of. So we've never changed any of these. We're trying to keep our property tax rates the same. We don't vote on this, and this is just a public hearing. And at this time, I'd like to kind of ask anybody that'd like to make any comments, and we'll try to answer their questions for them if they'd like to come up to either microphone and ask about the proposed same tax rate. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. I'm really pleased to be able to step up here today to address you. I've been at a couple meetings this year and noticed that the management is pretty darn good. Also that the magistrates do hear the people. They do respond. They're paying attention. I just want to thank you once again for that factor, which in this day and age is so hard to find. Your stewardship continues to be as it should be. And thank you on behalf of the Madison County Tax Watch. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I'm Debbie Secchio, by the way.
We appreciate it.
I think everybody knows that. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to approach the court? I think everybody realizes that being able to keep the same rate with the county growing like it is, with all the increased costs that we're facing, and we're able to keep this tax rate is very important. I'm really proud of the fiscal court, proud of all our department heads, everybody that's really working hard to keep costs down. You know, we see the spike in gasoline, and that affects everybody. I mean, from the sheriff's office, especially the road department when you're running 20 to 24 trucks all the time. So we've been able to do that. We haven't had to lay off anybody. We've cut down through attrition. When somebody leaves, maybe we can get by with them for a while. So we're making every effort to do what the taxpayers of Madison County want us to do, and that's keep the rates low, continue to provide the services that they've come to expect the last 20 years, and continue and improve those services. And that's what we're being able to do. And I'll talk a little bit about it when we approve the other taxing districts. I think, you know, in the past, a couple of them have taken some increases, and we've sat down with them and talked to them and convinced them that under these economic times, if if we can get by and continue to provide those services, then it's in the best interest of everybody in Madison County that we keep the rates where they are. We're seeing some increase. You see a little bit increase, and that's through reevaluation of property through Billy. I talked to him the other day. We've got a lot of property in the county that hasn't been reassessed in 12, 15 years. So he's trying, but he's working with those people, so we're not having a whole lot of complaints. And I think everybody wants to be fair about this. They want to pay the same if their property as their neighbors. So it's working real well with that, but I think that's where you see the small increase was through the reassessment and the new property. So at this time, I'd like to ask the court if anybody has a comment they'd like to make. I'd open the floor up, Greg.
I'm just glad we're able to keep the rates down. That, you know, it's true everybody is managing government, and you know, sometimes in government they seem like they're far away from everybody else's wallet and expense, but I commend our court and all the districts this year for looking and being perspective of thinking about other people. And, you know, I do again commend everybody that looks to be conservative and watch out for everybody's money. So that's just my call.
Thank you. Roger?
Even with keeping the tax rate the same, we still get a little bit of an increase, like the judge said, which in this case amounts to like $130,000. We're just like every household out there. We got costs, and those costs have gone up to us just like it has to every household in the county. So it's hard to operate on what you operated on last year, and just what little increase we're getting here, I assure you won't pay for the difference in the cost that we're going to see. But we do what we can, and I appreciate all the department heads for what they do.
Thanks, Roger. Bill Ray?
You know, there's a lot more scrutiny on these taxing districts than there used to be, and a lot of that's because of folks right here in Madison County that's, and even the state auditor, you know, is taking on a special project to try to determine the scope of taxing districts in the state of Kentucky. And I also know that, I understand that the legislature is even looking at the oversight of taxing districts because they recognize that there are some accountability issues there, and even this compensating rate, there's some nuances in that formula that are, I can't understand them, but they do work to the benefit of the taxing district and not necessarily to the benefit of the taxpayer. So I know, I'm trusting that our legislature is going to work on these issues because we're actually helpless to do anything about it except just us. So hopefully, you know, in the coming next few sessions, we'll get a little bit better handle on what our taxing districts are doing.
Thanks, Bill Ray. Larry?
Well, Judge, it just comes down to one thing. Good management on your part and this court's part. Be able to keep our tax rate where it is. I commend you for that.
I appreciate it. You know, it's interesting, and a lot of y'all, I don't know if you see the formula, but real estate values in Madison County now are over $4 billion. So that's very interesting. We're one of the largest 10 counties in the state out of 120. So to be able to continue to work and provide and upgrade services is, it's the fiscal court and the department heads, and it's an effort that everybody's providing, and we're proud of that. And if that's all the comments we have, I will close this public hearing of our 2012 Madison County property tax rates. And it's 9:30, so we'll switch over into and call the meeting of the Madison County Fiscal Court to order. Kenny?
Master King?
Here.
Master Parker?
Here.
Master Hughes? Here. Master Combs? Here. Judge Clark?
Here. Okay, got my stuff here. You all have had a chance to look at the minutes of the last meeting. If there are no changes or discussion, a motion would be in order to approve those as submitted in your package.
So moved.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Parker?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Combs? Yes. Judge Clark?
Yes. treasurer's report, we got that at our last meeting, and I'm sure if you all have any questions about claims or the finances, Glenna's here, and she'll be more than glad to answer those. We'll go on into order of business, and first, we have Gil Johnson and R.J. Palmer here, and I'm going to briefly kind of talk a little bit about what we're trying to do here. As you all know, we've built the new annex at a cost of about $6 million. It was because we had to have the space. We were out. We had to have the basement for the sheriff and the county attorney and the child support and, you know, so forth and so on. So we knew that we had to do something, and we kind of looked at that eyesore on that corner, and we worked that out. We've also done additions to the jail. We've done additions, renovations to the courthouse. Back when I first came in with new heat and air, as you all remember, we had the old jail behind the courthouse, and to turn the heat on, once you turned it on, it was on for the rest of the winter. You couldn't go back and forth with it, whether you turned the air or the heat on. So we were able to get rid of the old jail and put a new system in. We're continuing to upgrade that. We're doing upgrades to the courthouse. So we've got 3 bond issues out here. One is the jail expansion, along with really the original jail bond issue, and the annex and another one. And we're looking, because of the rates are so low, we're talking about lowest ever, of maybe combining some of these instead of stretching them out and waiting for somebody even after we're gone, and have a $5 or $6 million hit at one time. We're looking at combining these bonds, which we're not really paying a whole lot on, but keeping the payment about the same, taking advantage of the low interest rate and fixing it where people after we're gone will be able to afford it and eventually pay things off. So at this time, RJ, I don't know if you or Gil want to come up first, or you want to come together. Would be fine if y'all want to come up to the podium. This is RJ Palmer, and RJ's with Civic Finance Advisors.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, members of the court. Gil Johnson, bond counsel on this particular bond issue that we're here discussing with you. You have a handout that I placed before you this morning. The judge has given you a pretty good summary of what we are looking at doing. On page 1 of that handout, though, the 3 bond issues that we're looking to combine are the 2001, the 2004 A and B issues. You have on that sheet in the gray shaded area as well the interest rate ranges for those existing bond issues. At rates today, we're looking at reissuing this debt at roughly 3%. So we're going to reduce your interest rate, and then we're going to amortize all this debt at the same time. What that will do for the county is result in a savings of about $685,000 over the remaining term of the bond issue. Now, when you go to page 4 of your handout, there is a comparison that I want to kind of draw your attention to. And this comparison is us doing this bond issue today, or this fall, versus waiting another 2 years. And based upon today's rates, assuming that rates don't move at all in a 2-year period, you'll give up about $380,000 worth of this savings. So that's why it is our advice to the county that we combine these 3 debt issues together, reissue them at roughly 3%, and save the county and the taxpayers of Madison County about $685,000. Also, if something were to happen within the capital market before we get this issue to market, we simply won't issue it. We're not going to issue this or reissue these bonds if we can't save you money, because we have a fiduciary obligation to you to give you financial advice that's prudent and that will save money for your budget, and that's what we're doing. Today we can do that. If something were to change, we would simply continue to monitor it and then come back at a later date and issue the debt.
RJ, could you talk just a little bit and show them like the spike in the cost
Yes.
of where we're going to see a little bit of increased cost through 17, then the
Correct.
whole annex, which we're taking advantage of and using with finance now and also renting, that'll be paid off. So then after the 4 years, you'll see the decrease in payment of what we're doing now.
That's correct. If you look at page 5, the gray shaded area is your existing debt service payments. The blue will be the new debt service that we will issue with this new combined issue. You'll see that in 15, 16, and 17, that you're going to pay about $60,000 more than what you are today. However, what we're trying to avoid is that spike in 2021. We're going to eliminate that and layer it into your debt so that actually those will be the only years that you have to pay more than what you're currently paying. After we get past that, the family court building pays off, and your debt payments will actually be less than what they are today. And the end result, again, is $685,000 roughly savings to the county.
What's interesting, we've tried as we talk about upgrading services and stuff, and Glenda, don't we pay the fire station, Station 2 off maybe this month?
We paid it off on August.
Paid it off, so we paid that off. You know, we're making big reductions in things that we needed at the time. The Public Works building was paid off, the new road department's paid off. So we're making headway with this. We want to take an advantage of this 3% interest rate, which I don't think we'll ever see again, and try to put this debt together and where it doesn't really cause trouble to people. For us, the next 4 to 8 years, or even 12 years for some of you all, and the people that come in after that. So we're trying to, as we always do, plan for the future and get the best possible rate that we can do that doesn't put the county in a bind on a bond payment.
I'd be happy to answer any questions the court may have.
Don't guess we could give you that annex for what we owe on it.
I'm just glad because I brought this up numerous times here in 2021 where we got this big balloon payment that's going to be required, and I was wondering where that $3 million was going to come from, and this is going to divert that disaster. So I think it's a proactive move. I'm glad to see it myself.
And this is one reason that I've asked them to come in, Bill Ray, because you've questioned it, and I've looked at it, and it's on the annex, I mean, which has been very successful, and everybody's taken advantage of it, but this eliminates that completely from whoever's sitting on this court in 21 and all the way through 2030. I think it's 35 or 6.
The judge and I have talked about that balloon, Billy Ray, on a number of occasions, knowing that you've got the family court and the HVAC bonds that pay off in 17 and 18. We wanted to wait for the opportunity where rates were really good, refund everything together and avoid that balloon payment, but do it at a time when some of your other debt is being paid off, you know, it's matured and gone, so that you don't get stuck with additional debt service payments that the county doesn't need to hamstring it right now as it continues to try to provide the services that you provide. And that's what we're able to do with this.
Really enlightening to me is, you know, the county's total long-term debt's about $10 million. Now, is that a lot? I felt like that was a lot, but I know that the state, the debt limit, statutory debt limit is 2% of the value, property valuation. A county can't have any more debt than that. Well, that would be $90 million. According to statutes, we could have up to $90 million in debt, and we're at $10 million, so I don't feel as bad, Judge, I'll just tell you.
That's on page 1, too,
Yeah.
Magistrate. Your statutory limit's $95.8 million. You have $10 million in outstanding debt.
I mean, how many, do you know any counties that's pushing their limit on debt?
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Just don't mention their name.
We'll not name any names today, but there certainly are some counties that haven't experienced the growth that Madison County has, and their debt capacity is much less, and so they get to bumping up against it pretty quick. But they also have, much smaller tax bases and revenues with which to deal with. So, I think you should be commended. You've done a good job of managing the fiscal affairs of the county, and I think it shows.
The blue graphics here, does that include any additional money that's going to be paid on the debt, or is that just going by what we're paying now? Or is there any intention of paying more on the debt? Or?
Oh, you're on page 5?
No,
That will be your annual debt service payment for when we reissue these 3 issues together.
Okay.
And that's not any additional payment towards that debt. It is simply what it takes to fully amortize it by 2036.
And at the end, there won't be no balloon payment, right?
No, sir. The balloon payment is gone.
Any other questions?
And you could see that as well on page 4, because we've listed both your current debt service and what this restructured debt service will be as a comparison, so that it show you what the differences are for each year and how we arrive at that $685,000 savings.
Well, I think everybody on the court knows that none of us are going to walk out here and leave everybody debt-free. We're going to leave debt, and as well as about every other government. We want to do what we can to try to help the others down the road to be able to make the payments, and this is one way of doing it.
That's excellent. There are no more questions. Let's see, RJ, you all need a resolution.
I'll turn it over to Mr.
You
Johnson,
come up, and then I...
bond counsel.
I'm Gil Johnson. I think I've been here before. I'm bond counsel. I'm with the McNair Law Firm. We prepared, and I believe we tendered, Judge, to your office an ordinance. Since this is a general obligation debt, you have to have 2 readings. And I guess this is the day proposed for the first reading. This ordinance is almost identical to the previous ordinances we presented to the fiscal court. There may be some questions if some of you have an opportunity to look at it. There's nothing magical in it, Judge.
Do you all have copies in your packet?
I think so.
They've got it.
Okay. So I'm prepared to answer questions you may have. There will be, Judge, I need to note that there will be a requirement that we submit this to the Department of Local Government. So I have brought with me here today, in anticipation of a first reading, a petition that I'll ask you to sign before we leave, so I can file it if that's the direction the court decides to go.
I would, first off, I think we need to do a couple of motions. First off, the court to approve the ordinance and authorize me to sign on behalf of the Madison County Fiscal Court.
That's correct.
So I would need a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. King?
I ain't got to look over the ordinance until this morning, so I'm gonna vote no until that time.
Mr. Barger?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Yes. Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Now, we need authorization for me to sign your petition to the state debt officer.
That is, I have it right here.
Is that correct?
And once this petition is filed, once that's done, Judge, you will receive notice from the Department of Local Government as to whether or not they'll conduct a hearing. And it's statutory, as you well know.
Understand. Any questions about this? I think you all see the amount, the ordinance. Need a motion to authorize me to sign the notification of intent to finance and approve with the state debt officer.
So moved.
Second.
Pastor King,
Yes.
Pastor Barger,
Yes.
Pastor Hughes.
Yes.
Pastor Combs.
Yes.
Pastor Clark.
Yes. All right, we appreciate y'all coming in. Thank you very much, and I think this is a huge step in the right direction for the future of fiscal court in the county. Thank you, Jerry. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is Madison County property tax rates. And I have them here, and we can do them one at a time. And that way, if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for them. It's at the top of the page. It's
Come down the same way. EMS.
This is EMS, I know, and they're requesting a tax rate per hundred of 4.8 cents and tangible property of 6, which they've been that way forever. Watercraft and inventory and transit, which is cars at 6% also.
So are you on item 3 now, the agenda?
Oh, no, wait, we need to approve ours first.
I think so.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention to it. Okay, as we talked about before in the public hearing, Madison County has proposed a tax rate of 8.3 as it was last year. And I went over the numbers, so I don't think there's any use in doing that. And we did lower our personal property from 10, which we've been for 20 years, to 9.7. And that was because of an old law, and working with local government, they thought that that would be best. So we are lowering the personal property a little bit and keeping the regular property at the same. So I would need a vote to approve tax rate levied at 8.3%.
So moved.
Second.
Pastor King,
Yes.
Pastor Barger.
Yes.
Pastor Hughes.
Yes.
Pastor Combs.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes. Now, we'll go through the tax rates. EMS, real estate's 4.8, intangibles at 6. And the board's approved this. I think we saw a little article in the paper, and it was unanimous. And a motion would be in order to approve their tax rate.
So moved.
Second.
Pastor King,
Yes.
Pastor Barger.
Yes.
Pastor Hughes.
Yes.
Pastor Combs.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes.
I mean, we're not really accepting it, we're just acknowledging it.
We're just
That's right.
acknowledging.
You're not approving it, you're just accepting it.
We're just accepting it.
What's been presented to us. that's
Yeah,
all we can do.
let me make this plain. We don't have the authority to approve it or disapprove it. All we try to do is be good stewards, and we accept what their board has sent us. I mean, as far as turning one down, we don't have any kind of authority like that. And that's one thing Billy Ray's talking a little bit about is, you know, in the future with the General Assembly and the state auditor looking at that maybe fiscal courts throughout the state of Kentucky would have a little bit more authority to work with the taxing districts, but right now we don't. All we're doing is accepting these, that's all we're doing. And they come from the boards. The library's next at 5.6 with a personal tangible property at 12.
So moved.
Second.
Pastor King,
Yes.
Pastor Barger.
Yes.
Pastor Hughes.
Yes.
Pastor Combs.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes. Next is the health department, which is unanimous, and the health department is levied a 5%, which they have been for the last several years. And that's all they've got on that. So I need a motion to accept the Madison County Health Department's. And this is pretty special because, you know, we've talked to them and asked them level it off. They're making some pretty dramatic cuts to keep this rate the same with all the cuts they're facing from the state, you know, Medicaid and the feds. So they're doing what they have to do to keep their rate the same too. So we appreciate that.
So moved.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Next is the extension office, and that's real property at a penny and a half, 1.5. As long as I can remember, they've never raised that. They do an excellent job. They've done an addition in providing more service to the people, and they've done another addition without raising taxes, so I applaud them on that. And it's a great facility, and it's both facilities are used just about on a daily basis. So motion be in order to accept the cooperative extension service of 1.5.
You know, Judge, that extension office, that taxing district was established the same time as the library and the EMS. But their rate, their initial rate that they set back in whatever year that was, 83 or something like that, it's barely changed. Or the rest of these taxing districts, the rates have continued to climb, and so you know the extension district is a model of a good taxing district. A lot of people get to use that facility out there, so you know they've really done a great job, and I make the motion we accept their rate.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Madison County Schools, real estate is 58.3, tangible personal property at 58.8.
Go ahead, Larry. You can make that motion.
I think because of the response from the public, Debbie, I think you all were there, that this is the first time I can recollect in 20 years that they've kept the same property tax rate. So that's interesting to go along with all the other taxing districts that they've decided that if they have to make a cut, they're going to make a cut. So motion be in order to accept the school board's rate of 58.3%.
I'll make a motion, and on that motion, there was a little girl there from Ferristown. I was there at the board meeting and spoke very well, and I think it touched everybody's heart there that day. So, you know, I'm glad we got the school board to finally keep the same rates.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. And finally, the Berea Community School, independent school rates, and it looks like their rate will be 91.3. If you include the exoneration, it's 91.7, and their tangible will be 91.7. Recommendation of the board, and I think, Larry, didn't they keep their same rate as last year?
Yeah, it was a split vote, but they kept it the same.
All right, so a motion would be in order to accept the Berea Independent School System's tax rates.
So moved.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Master Combs?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Next on the agenda is CSEP award our calendar bids. See Carl, yeah, Carl's here.
We had some items in your package from last week. You should have had them already. Only 2 bids were received this time, Thoroughbred Printing and Post Printing. They've both bid this project over the last decade or so. They've each won the project over various times. This year, the low bidder is Post Printing. They did not win the bid last year, so I guess they resharpened their pencil because they're about $800 cheaper than what the calendar cost us last year. We've got the same quantity of calendars being printed, the same type of work being done, and it was $800 cheaper this year than last year, so I guess they wanted the bid pretty bad, so, because I know the cost of ink and paper didn't go down, so. But I'd like permission to award this to Post Printing. They're great to work with. Both of these companies are great to work with. They're both out of Lexington, and the work's done here locally, so I'd like permission to be able to go ahead and get the 2013 calendar working.
So moved.
Second.
Master King,
Yes.
Master Barger,
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes.
Thank you.
Carl, you want to talk a little bit about the major exercise coming up?
Sure. 19th, a week from tomorrow, we'll have the federally graded CSEP exercise. We don't know what time exactly to start in the morning, but usually it's somewhere around 8:30 or 9 o'clock. We're going to run for 4.5 hours. We'll have about 30-some evaluators in from the various places across the country evaluating the hospitals, the schools, our field decon operation, the EOC, and the Joint Information Center operations, all simultaneously. They're going to evaluate 8 schools, it looks like this time, 1 long-term care facility, and at least 1 daycare. That's the evaluator team they brought in. We have a VIP contingent coming in this time that I didn't bring their names with me, but I can share it with you guys afterwards if you're interested. The VIP tour this time is a list of people that are far higher up the food chain than we usually see, and we usually see some pretty important and influential people, but this time actually the Office of Business and Management out of the feds in Washington, the executive director of that office that is an elected or assigned position by the President of the United States, she's coming this year, which that's never happened. So we've got some pretty high-ranking individuals coming. Looks like there's about 9 of them coming this year. That's pretty normal, 6 to 10. But there are a few people that are way up the food chain compared to what we're used to. So, but you're welcome. If you're interested in coming and watching part of the operations, please let me know, because we do keep a list of people that are authorized to come in. Obviously, all of our staff that knows you guys is busy in the exercise, so we have law enforcement that is watching the door, and they go by their list, you know, for security purposes. If these are people we expect to come in, or then you're allowed to come in. If you're not on the list, they have to go find someone to say, yeah, it's okay for you to come in. And they're just trying to do their job like we're trying to do ours. And the mock media that plays in this thing always tries to sneak in and get the inside scoop and then blow it out of proportion at the mock press conference. So we have security for a reason, not to keep you guys out, but to keep the mock media out, because they can run things awry on you real quick. Any questions on that exercise? No?
Carl and his staff do an excellent job every year.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Carl.
it.
Next, we've got a set date for Halloween trick or treat, and we typically do exactly what the 2 cities do, so we don't have people out on different nights. I think October the 31st from 6 to 8. So I'd like the court's permission to set that to go along with the 2 cities.
So moved.
Second.
Master King,
Yes.
Master Barger.
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Master Combs.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes. I don't have much of the judge's report. Got Extension Office, the community conversation on children's health will be out there September 20th at 12:30. Everybody's invited to that. And our next court will be September 25th, and that'll be our Madison County Local Government Day, so we'll have our leadership class in there. We'll be able to experience what we're doing now instead of, I have them all day, is take them around the departments. We bring all the department heads in early that morning and let them give a PowerPoint presentation, and then sit through a fiscal court meeting, and then we'll come to Berea and go back to the OC, stop by the golf course and have lunch, go to the tourism center, and wind up Carl and his staff at the EOC, and then we finish up at City Hall in Richmond with Mayor Barnes. So it's an exciting day, it's a long day, but looking forward to it. It's something we do every year, and I've been very fortunate to be the day chair of that for about 15 or 16 years now. So Other than that, next court, September 25th. Everybody's invited to that. And that's all I've got in the judge's report. I would ask for comments from department heads. Scott?
I think this guy here is going to talk trash.
Master King, if you'll pass those down. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go over our data from May through the end of August. And I'm also glad to say I've got Lanny Earthman Smith here, who's going to brief the court on a project, anti-littering project we're working with the school system. Magistrates, I left you a brief summary of what we're doing in that program in your box last week. Let's get right into it. Through May, through the end of August, dead livestock removal. We've removed 284 head of livestock out of our farms here in Madison County. Road miles cleaned, 154 road miles, netting 604 bags of litter off of our road miles. The way we're doing that right now, we'll be doing the groups, non-volunteers and groups, nonprofit groups in the spring, and then in the fall we'll be using our half-time person who drives a recycling truck, and then half-time he'll be doing litter. Right now, this week, we're working down here outside the city limits of Berea, picking up the litter. So, number of large item pickups during that span, we did 298 large item pickups. That's that basketball goal or hot water heater or washer and dryer that the residents need to get rid of. That's a free of charge service. Just give us a call. We'll be happy to come out and schedule that and take care of getting rid of that for you. Loaner trucks were set at 69 residents during this time span. That's 69 homes that cleaned out that garage or emptied out the basement of the junk that's sitting around. So, wonderful program. I encourage everyone to take full advantage of that. It runs on about a 6 if you called today. You're looking at scheduling somewhere in about the middle of November. So, great program. I'm going to do a small recycling summary. I had a little typo in the number that I gave you there, so I'm just going to go over the year-to-date totals of 603,504 pounds. That encompasses our contractor that we were using before we purchased our truck in May and got it online in May. What I'm going to go over here on the number of 12,250, that is our net return through the end of July. That is payments from the Bluegrass Regional Recycling Corporation on our goods, on our recycling goods. 6,816 is our total expenses of our driver and our labor of the driver and fuel expense. That's total cost of the driver, benefits and retirement and everything calculated into that. So during the time span that we started from June until the end, from the middle of May with our own truck until the end of July, we have a net of $5,433 on the program, and that number does not encompass the payments of aluminum that come from the city of Lexington from their facility. The aluminum payments will approximately be about $1,500 a month. That comes strictly straight from the city of Lexington. Bluegrass pays us for the rate for the recycling goods, and then the city of Lexington for the aluminum. So, any questions on my data?
Well, Scott, it looks like the court made a good decision in buying the truck.
Yes, sir.
Where we were paying out, I think it was going to $2,800 or $2,900 a month for somebody else to do it, and no return. To 55 plus the aluminum, approximately $7,000 in 3 months, which will more than pay the driver and I think pay the truck too.
Exactly.
So we appreciate your recommendation, your hard work. I know your staff's doing a good job, so it's one of those things. And would you mind adding roughly how many households are you up to?
Right by my calculations, approximately 2,400, Judge. And over the last month, we've acquired another 350 bins from the city of Lexington. I'm working to get those cleaned out. Just because it's recycling, it still has a distinct odor. So we're looking at expanding the recycling route this fall. We'll be getting the neighborhoods involved and going out polling and doing all that good stuff again. Hopefully we'll bring another 400 route on for another day. So
I'd like to see you in my district when you can, and we've talked about
Yes,
it.
sir.
I understand, and I'm patient. But I do, I mean, we spent that kind of money, I want it in my district also. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. In closing, before I turn it over to Lanny, tire amnesty is coming up next week. Seems like just yesterday in 2009, we had one of those, and it's 2012 now, 3 years later, and we'll be turning around having our free tire disposal. That'll be out at the State Highway Department next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 8 to 4 p.m. Household hazardous waste collection event coming up October 6th. We'll be doing that at the Road Department South on Clarksville Lane. So everybody with your household hazardous waste, bring it out that day, and we'll collect it, take it off for you. And in closing, our 5-year plan passed its public comment period. Encompassing the 5-year plan is a plan for Madison County in a whole, includes the city of Richmond and Berea, that encompasses solid waste management as a whole for the whole entire county. Solid waste management, recycling, and then residential waste management and commercial. The committee met, we passed the plan, and passed its public comment period. Now from here, I will go for resolutions in all 3 governments here at Fiscal Court, both City of Richmond and Berea, to pass resolution